Now, all tournaments have slightly different rules, scoring, and environment, whether it be the size of the ring or the terrain such as carpet, concrete, or grass. I've heard several people say over the years that a good fencer can adapt to these changes, but rarely do they ever give specific examples. This video will discuss some of the challenges I faced in trying to adapt my fencing to the Battleborn competition hosted by Noble Science Academy. I'm pretty new to the tournament scene with only competing in 3 total, so I'm hoping this video might be helpful to people new to tournaments. I almost didn't compete in the tournament at all. In September I was moving a 417-pound treadmill by myself. I messed up and it yanked me to one side, pulling my abdominal muscles apart, creating a good-sized hernia. I was in a lot of pain, and even after several months I wasn't able to fence. I didn't know if I had to give up competitive HEMA or not. In January, I had surgery and started healing all over again. It was another 3 months before I was fencing at all. So I was out of practice for 5 months with only the last 2 months of light practice. My point with this isn't to excuse my sloppy fencing, it's to set the stage for what I was thinking going into the tournament. Because we all have injuries from time to time, and this is a video about how I tried to adapt my fencing to the tournament. The simple fact is, I was afraid of taking a heavy hit to the belly and going back to sitting on the couch all weekend to heal. To make things worse, a longsword finds a gap in my glove just 3 days before the tournament and wrecks my thumb. I wanted to quit, but then I remembered General Patton's speech.
Americans traditionally love to fight. All real Americans love the sting of battle.
And, well, yeah, this was gonna sting. Step 1, I needed to prove to myself I could still fence. I loaded up on ibuprofen and found some people willing to help me warm up with some low-intensity sparring. I was slow, non-aggressive, and couldn't overcome that sense of self-preservation to protect my thumb. Every time I parried or tried to cut, it stung, and I was just not engaging or making any attempt to parry after blows. I was fencing like crap. Every now and again I would land a hit, but I would pause expecting the exchange to end immediately, like how we fence in all club. So I was taking direct hits to the head on the afterblow. I needed to adapt to the afterblow rules, but above all, I needed to accept the pain in my thumb and get aggressive. Now, my first match was against an opponent who was not as aggressive or experienced as the people I was warming up against the day before. This match represents my more typical fencing: cycle positions, attack alternating openings, snipe the hands and arms, and try to maintain distance so that I can avoid the afterblow by retreating rather than relying on a good parry. The issue, though, is that these hand hits are only worth 1 point, and a hit to the upper arm, face, or body is worth 4 points. I don't think I had quality on one of the upper arm strikes, but my opponent self-called. But you can see how many matches I would need to get victories on in order to meet just one upper arm light hit. So after this match, I realized that I was taking a huge risk by only going after low priority targets, so I needed to adapt. I started my next match wanting to be more aggressive and control the ring. I rush into the middle recklessly and immediately get hit. This is a great example of having a plan and not adapting it to the situation. I wanted to thrust from Didona, and that is what I did, regardless of what my opponent was doing, resulting in this ugly exchange. The way the tournament worked, though, actually gave me 1 point because I hit my opponent in the head versus his hit to my arm. I attempt a beat parry on this, but I fall for the feint. I found rising strikes to be effective, as many people don't know how to defend against them. They can be risky, though, as you can take a hit to the head. This next one really sucked. I was feeling pretty good and still fencing like myself up to this point, but I take a direct hit to the thumb. I say thumb because I was thinking of requesting a break, but I decided against it. My thumb was throbbing in pain though. I should have requested a quick break though, as my head just wasn't in the game. My opponent lands a very skillful thrust, and tournament-wise I should have cut to the torso for a after blow, but I think that would have been dirty. At this point my thumb is still throbbing, and I know I need to make up some points with time running out. I cut to the head, but take a cut to the forearm. I don't wear any additional protection on my forearm, so I'm 100% positive where that strike landed. Amazingly though, the judges called the strike as landing on my head, so 0 points. At this point, I needed a high priority hit to win, but I accidentally hit the hand instead, so I lost the match. A very skilled opponent though. Lessons learned: call a break if you need one. Don't rush into the middle of the ring. Targeting the head as an initial strike can lead to your opponent hitting you in the arm, leading to a dirty exchange that are also very unclear to judges. Hand sniping isn't worth much, but were some of my cleanest hits. Up against my buddy Chandler from Untitled Fencing. I parry this cut to my head, but it crumples a bit and I can feel a small amount of contact on my mask. It wasn't enough for a judge to call, but I instinctively separated like I would at practice. In retrospect, I could have kept fencing, but this isn't how I want to win, so I self-call. I try to make up the difference with a cut to the head. As I come in though, I take a cut to the cuff of my glove. The judge calls it as a strike to my body though, so no points. Because I love to overanalyze things, let's investigate this. We can hear my opponent's strike land just before mine. And this is further supported by the audio waveform. We can match the first peak of my opponent's strike to the frame, and we can see it is to the cuff of my glove. So bad call by the judge. This could possibly have been prevented though by not having such a huge wind-up cut, which made my hand such an easy target. I really needed a head hit to tie things up. I wanted to thrust, but as I moved into position, I noticed my opponent prematurely parried, leaving him open, and I morphed my strike into a cut. A bit risky, but I finally got a clean exchange. All tied up, I wanted to make a cover from Didona to land a pommel strike, but my opponent puts up a good defense and actually deserved 4 points, as you can see a strike to my body before we ring out. I didn't notice this at the time though, otherwise I would have self-called. This is probably my dumbest exchange. I changed my mind on the position I want to fence from right at the beginning, resulting in this strange hop. Realizing I am way too close and panic cut to the head, forcing a double hit. That double was 100% my fault. So I finally get a good beat parry, and I land a cut to an arm, but I am way too close to my opponent and fail to defend against the after blow. All tied up, I land a cut to the head, but take a thrust to the abdomen. It wasn't a strong thrust, but the rule set states any touch with the point is a valid strike. So that was another dirty exchange and 0 points, ending the match in a tie. Lessons learned: big wind-up strikes look cool, but leave your hands exposed. Lead with your weapon and create threat at a distance. Don't needlessly change positions while in measure, then force a double hit. That's just dumb. Next match, I attempt to make a cover from Didona, but I take a strike to the hand. I make contact with the neck and mask, but it isn't seen or at least deemed sufficient, which is fair. I get a simple beat parry and cut to the hands on this. I attempt a thrust, but I miss and it turns into a slice on the forearm. I take a light hit to my hand after break is called, so still clean exchange, but I needed to defend myself more and pay attention to how my opponent winds around. Another beat parry and strike to the upper arm. Again, that is worth 4 points. Now this next exchange, I do something really stupid. I stop fencing at point like I do at my own club, but the match is live until break. I turn my head and take a hit. Yes, the strike lands after break, but I absolutely should not have turned my head like that. It was a foolish mistake. This next exchange is my favorite, but really painful on my thumb. You just transition from one fenestra to the next to try and make your opponent more defensive. And you launch a cut or a thrust depending on what opens up. Lessons learned: beat parries are effective, thrust more, and keep your defenses up until you are positive the match has actually ended. So I made it into the eliminations and got matched against Chandler again. I start off planning on thrusting from Didona, but I have my hand sticking way out in front of me. No surprise, my opponent capitalizes on these mistakes and lands a clean hand hit. I land a rising strike to the hand and get lucky on the parry. On this, I tried to parry what I thought was going to be a fendente, but it comes in as a mezzano and crumples my parry, landing a hit to my back. I get a slice to the armpit, but I don't think it should have counted, and no points were given. I attempt a thrust. I maybe got a crappy slice, but my opponent got a clean hand hit. It wasn't clear to the judges though, so they washed it. I rushed in on this exchange trying to cut twice and get out before the afterblow. I failed completely, and we end up cutting each other in the back. This next exchange, we end up in this high bind. As we come out, I launch a slice to the mask, but it is deemed to be flat, so no points. I do disagree slightly on this. As we can see in the video, the edge is on line, but it is very tippy. Last exchange, all tied up, tensions were high, we just needed 1 point. I pulled up into Fenestra, hoping he would cut at my sword and I could snipe the hand, but it goes the other way and he gets me instead, as well as getting out nice and clean. With that, I was eliminated and my opponent went on to win bronze. So I pointed out some calls I disagreed with, but honestly the judging was pretty good. It was fast, pretty accurate, and they made the calls with confidence. I think everyone who beat me because of their fencing, not due to the rule sets or judging. With that hopefully clarified, I don't think pointing out calls you disagree with should be a taboo subject or taken personally by the judges. Judging is very tough, and this is a learning opportunity. Now, many fencers had less dirty exchanges than me, so this is clearly an issue of my fencing and not the judging. Looking at the exchanges I disagreed with, I can see many involved me running past my opponents or going for cuts too close to my opponent. This makes it difficult for the judges to see what happened. So if I want more accurate judging, I need to fence more cleanly, such as less afterblows, and stop trying to land cuts as I run past, as these strikes can be difficult to judge. Related to this is distancing. I am used to fencing outside and having lots of space to move. Placed into a tournament space, I was using wide game posta much too closely. Posta Didona, for example, needs defensible space. When I inevitably got sniped, I had to aggressively pursue the afterblow to chase points. So I need to stop rushing into the middle of the ring without presenting threat. I also needlessly changed posta or footwork while in measure, resulting in leaving myself open to attack, or simply getting sloppy in my posta and not protecting my hands by leaving them way out in front of me. So I have a lot to learn and hope to apply these lessons in my next tournament. If you noticed other aspects of my sloppy fencing and things I can improve upon, please leave a comment. I honestly do appreciate the feedback. You won't hurt my feelings. So thank you for watching, and I look forward to the next video.